morning. This is Anna Patterson with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week so far. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. The top things this week, we have just a comparison we want to run through of the different bipartisan bills that have now passed the House and the Senate. So looking at the Housing for the 21st Century Act and then the Senate's Road to Housing Act, comparing those two. And then an announcement from the governor's office, Governor Stein, announcing a cost savings energy program out of DEQ that is now available in all 100 counties. So let's go ahead and dive into federal updates. Last week, the House passed a comprehensive bipartisan housing bill, the Housing for the 21st Century Act. So today we just wanted to take a few minutes and run through how it compares to the Senate's Road to Housing Act and what we might be able to expect next. The good thing is that both bills passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, and almost half of the House bill's sections share similarities with the Senate's version. Both of the bills include language around reforming housing counseling and financial literacy programs, incentivizing landlord participation in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, eliminating the permanent chases requirement on mobile homes. And this was a provision that was actually borrowed from Senator Tillis's Housing Supply Expansion Act of 2025. They both also include creating a grant program to help local governments develop pattern books of pre-reviewed housing designs as a way to possibly streamline development. They both have language around providing best practices and support for implementing best practices for state and local zoning and land use policy reform. They both include language around reforming the home program. They raise the cap on bank public welfare investments to 20%. And they also increase the FHA Federal Housing Administration, multifamily loan limits. The House's version, though, if we start to look at the differences, the House's version includes several provisions that are actually not included in the Road to Housing Act. The House's version includes a number of different community banking reforms, as well as the establishment of an eviction helpline. But the House version also lacks a number of provisions that the Senate did include. So in the Senate version, there's language permanently authorizing the CDBG-DR program. That would be the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, which would be wonderful and really instrumental for disaster recovery and relief. The Senate version also addresses appraisal bias and has recommendations reforming the appraisal industry standards. The Senate version also includes incentivizing local solutions to homelessness and reforming homelessness programs. And then it also, in the Senate Road to Housing Act, there's language around creating and supporting a number of other HUD programs and pilots. So now we take these two bipartisan housing bills. The House and Senate must now work together to create a version of legislation that both the House and Senate will support. According to different news sources, the president is strongly advocating for the inclusion of legislation around limiting institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes. And there also have been several folks that have been visiting DC in the last 2 weeks that have been letting us know that there seems to be energy, a lot of momentum and energy around hopefully getting to one piece of legislation that both chambers can agree on. Right now, Congress is in recess, but hopefully when they come back, they can hit the ground running. There are some folks that are saying that they might not see progress till the summer on these two housing bills, combining them into one rather. But there are others, again, that have been in DC recently that have been letting us know, several members of our delegation, as well as from other states, seem really intent on getting to a singular piece of legislation, which is good for housing and good for the momentum that we need for this work. Moving on to state updates. Early voting began last Thursday, February 12th, and continues through Saturday, February 28th at 3 p.m. We're going to include a link in the call notes so that you can learn more from the North Carolina State Board of Elections about early voting sites and hours before you head to the polls. And then Election Day is Tuesday, March 3rd. You might be wondering, why is a housing organization talking about elections? Well, elections are critical. Housing is coming out of the mouths of several candidates. They're talking about it quite a bit: affordability, housing. And so we encourage you to do your work, do your research, look into candidates, and know when and where you can vote and use your voice. Out of the governor's office, Governor Stein announced in partnership with DEQ that there is a cost-saving energy program that's now available in all 100 counties. So residents can now check their eligibility and apply for rebates that will lower their electricity costs by making their homes more energy efficient. We'll include a link in the call notes so that you can look at what eligibility looks like and learn a bit more. But just an overview, for a household an eligible household can receive up to $16,000 in rebates for energy efficiency improvements such as heat pump heating and cooling systems and insulation. And some initial estimates show that a household could save nearly $1,000 in energy savings over the course of a year. And then there are other rebates of up to $14,000 for things like high efficiency electrical appliances, such as water heaters and electric cooktops. It goes without saying that the households that will likely be able to implement uh, these cost-saving measures or these energy efficiency, implement these energy efficiency appliances, are likely not going to be those that are low and moderate income households. However, there has been a widespread kind of uproar around the state around rising energy bills and increasing in the hundreds of dollars in some places. So wanted to share this program that's now available, again, in all 100 counties. Moving on to legislative updates. Tomorrow we will be at the General Assembly. The Property Tax Relief Reform Committee will be meeting, so we'll be back kind of continuing to listen in and engage in the conversation that they're having. They've been receiving a lot of information around where the taxation authority comes from, what is allowed, what isn't allowed. They received a lot of great information from the County Commissioners Association as well as the League around how important property taxes are for municipalities and for counties. And so it will be interesting to see kind of where the conversation goes tomorrow. On the disaster recovery front from Renew NC, there is an updated policies and procedure resource for the single family housing program, small rental rehabilitation program, as well as the multifamily construction and repair, large project program, the commercial district revitalization program, and community infrastructure program. So there's a lot of updates around the policies and procedures for several of their programs. We will include the link to that in the call notes. There are several different pieces also related to disaster recovery that we'll include in this section, as well as a piece kind of highlighting the extent to which the state's funds can actually go when it comes to things like private roads and bridge repairs. So far, it looks like the program can only pay for about 10% of the projects, which again means that we need to continue applying pressure and using our voices to really call down the federal resources that we have yet to see in the scale that is needed. In the local headlines, we're hearing a lot about property taxes. There is a lot of conversation happening about this in the Orange County Commissioner's race. And then there are several different pieces around things happening throughout the state. The Cape Fear Habitat for Humanity is highlighted in their expansion using a housing model with a Castle Hayne mixed income project. There is also another piece highlighting the Orange County Habitat for Humanity's Affordable Housing Summit. That was the other week. It was lovely. It was great to see so many friendly faces, as well as several other pieces of news from around the Triangle and the state. Moving on to reports, events, and resources. We also are actually, for today, when we're able to, we'll try and lift up things like this, but there is a funding opportunity called the Micro Grant Program out of the Resilient Futures CoLab. And so this program is actually an organization that supports organizations, initiatives, and individuals that are working together to strengthen resilient and prosperous regional economy in Western North Carolina, as well as the greater Charlotte region. And so the funding opportunity here is this program offers small amounts of quick, flexible funding to help local projects kind of take their first step, so that catalytic funding, or their next step, so kind of moving through and continuing to move forward in repair and recovery. So this might mean testing out an idea, bringing people together, building readiness for other partnerships and financing. So these micro grants are actually designed to help unlock momentum and create traction, but not to fund entire projects. So if this sounds interesting to you, the initial round, it seems like they're offering between $2,000 and $5,000 grants to support small but strategic actions that can help initiatives move forward in Western North Carolina. Those details and that link will be in the call notes for you. There is now, on the resource side, an updated American Community Survey with the 5-year estimates. There is an updated map on Novogradac Opportunity Zone 2.0. There's a mapping tool using these ACS 5-year estimates that was released towards the end of January. You can use the year dropdown as well in the data layer to see eligibility based on the previous time frame. So now we're in the second time frame of opportunity zones. And reports and resources. The North Carolina Housing Finance Agency put out a report on finding affordable housing through the Community Land Trust model. A lot of great momentum and attention being paid to this model, which is proving to be one of the only, if not the only, ways to preserve affordability long term. There's also a few pieces from Novogradac out of talking about cost burden and how they reached an all-time high in the United States because pressure is expanding across income groups. And then a look at what will the regulation of large institutional investors actually do for housing affordability. Last but not least, I just want to lift up two events for you. There is a webinar being hosted by the North Carolina Tax Coalition on how to file your taxes for free in 2026. So they're hosting a webinar on Tuesday, February 24th. So this is next Tuesday from 12 to 12:45 to share information on free and low cost tax filing options for the 2026 tax season. So it's designed for organizations and advocates who work directly with North Carolinians and want to ensure that their communities have access to up-to-date tax filing resources and that it's not a barrier for them to do so. Another event that we want to lift up is the North Carolina Women's Affordable Housing Network is hosting a happy hour on Wednesday, March 4th, between 5 and 7 p.m. We'll have the link in the call notes for you all to learn more and register there as well. As always, we really appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will talk to you next time.